welcome down to Old Allen's. It's the autumn/winter clearance season, and this blackthorn thicket has been steadily getting wider and wider into the field. And as you can see, I come back over here. That's quite a big area. It's blackthorn and then bramble. And the plan is I'm going to leave this line in along here because it's a screen for the road. So I want to keep as much of that as is sensible. And I'm going to, obviously these cut stumps, they will regenerate. I might cut them down a bit lower, yeah, but much like this stuff here was cut way down years ago, that's going to sprout up, so it should actually thicken this up in time. A little bird twitting about in there. That's one of the reasons I don't want to get rid of this entirely, because the birds, they love it for nesting. So I need to keep that in mind. But all of this, I was losing a lot of area and I want to sort of neaten this up. So the ground here, these stumps I'm going to have to take down lower. Yeah, I have to take these right down, because what I want to be able to do is get this raked off right down to ground and seeded, or probably seeded in the spring. Now I might put some seed down this side of Christmas. It depends on how mild the weather is. It's been really mild so far this autumn, so I might get away with seeding a bit now. But the plan is to go through, so we've got this hawthorn up here, that's staying. There's two elms the other side of there. Now they've kind of reached the height where the beetles have got into them, and you know they are going to die, but I'm going to leave them there standing, and then I'm going to go through just in front of those. So then everything else here is going to go. Look at this, just an absolute tangle. A lot of this underneath is dead anyway, so cutting this right down will help, even if it's staying, just to clear things out. But let's go around the other side. So here we are around this front edge. It's all bramble. There's blackthorn caught up in there. You can just see, or maybe you can see the tops of some little wicky bits there. So there is blackthorn in there, but the bramble's really the main problem around here. I've got in a little pine, this little growing away there. I just put this cage around it the other day because the monkjack had found it and had just started nibbling it there. So that will hopefully protect it from them. The brown tips, this was planted in the summer and it was really quite dry, so it did brown off a bit when it first got in, but I'm encouraged that there is still green there, so I'm hoping it'll survive, because that has great big pine cones on that one. Aside from anything else, they're great for lighting fires. So we'll see, fingers crossed on that. My dad grew that from seed, so that's quite nice that that's in here. But here we are, here's the two elms down there, and then this is the other side of the thing. The hazels, these are elm as well, so those I'm going to leave. And they'll do what these ones have done. They'll grow up to that kind of height, and then they'll die back. Because the Dutch elm disease will finish them off, but you know, they can be useful up to that height, and if nothing else, when they're dead, it's a firewood tree. But yeah, this is the whole area here that's got to be tackled yet. Getting through this bit will probably happen fairly quickly, but yeah, there's a lot of work to do. A lot of work, and this year a lot of that work is going to be solo work. Or at least me and Mary. Right, hazel, that one. Oh no, actually, sorry, that's not hazel, that's also elm. But there is hazel over this side. So this hazel, has lost its leaves already. See the catkins on there. This one I kind of rescued from inside the bramble a little bit last year, and it's thrown up a load of new shoots, which is great. That's really good, because what I want to do is encourage that to be a decent producer of hazel sticks. Right, so here we are, top end of the woods. For those of you that watch the channel regularly, all of my videos have got background noise of this road. You can see the woodland runs almost right up to it, so that's why I can't do much about that. Eventually along here I would like to put in an evergreen hedge. Difficulties with that, well, A, it's going to be expensive because it's a very long run of fence line, and it's the north side of the wood, so it's, in summer at least, it's very dark, and it's also very dry because it's the high point, so you know, all of the well, there's not much water up there, so it is very dry, so whatever needs to go in will have to handle drought and the lack of light for sort of 7 months of the year, 8 months of the year. So you know, it's a bit tricky, but you know, the expense of that, maybe I'll well, actually that's not a bad idea. Maybe I'll do a thing like Nobby did and do a buy me a coffee, but instead of buy me a coffee, you could sponsor a tree for the hedge. Let me know your thoughts on that. It does feel a bit cheeky, but thinking on, because like bare root stuff is relatively cheap, and sort of about now's the time of year to do it, now onwards into winter. But yeah, maybe I'll beg for some money to plant a hedge, that Mary and I can plant a hedge, and you can sponsor a tree, because I think I'd have to look it up, but each whip, if they're little ones, each whip's only going to be, you know, £1.50, something like that, depending on what it is. It's not a bad idea. Anyway, on through the woods. So one thing that is really upsetting is that with the ash dieback, these woods, a lot of them are going to die off. A lot of the big trees. Now, I am fortunate in that, for instance, this one here is a beech. There are sycamores there. This is a sweet chestnut. There's a pine there. So there is variety. Oh, there's a, what's that one there with all the ivy on it? That fella is a robinia. and there are cherries, field maples as well, but most of the big stuff is ash, so a lot of it is going to die off and just slowly collapse in. I do walk up this road line because I have a duty of care to the road, so I do walk up and inspect the trees, even though there's a lot of trees that are outside of my area, if you like. So just here, so you can see the road there. I don't know if you can tell, but my fence line is inside. Those trees are on the outside, so they're not mine. That's the highway's responsibility. It's not mine. But obviously, for instance, here, this is a big ash tree, and it's, whilst those trees are the other side of it, if that were to sort of suddenly go in a wind, that would reach the road. It would flatten the fence and it would reach the road. So I do have to sort of keep an eye on stuff like that, and there probably will come a time where that will have to be sort of brought in. You know, sort of like after, basically I'll have to manage its decline is what's going to have to happen, and I'll have to manage the decline of the trees generally on the site, just because you know, where we've got the shepherd's hut and stuff like that, you know, it needs to be as safe as is sensible. I mean, right here we are, so ash tree central here, and I do apologise for the light now, it's last knockings of daylight here. Ash tree, ash tree, ash tree, ash, that's a hawthorn. Moving down, field maple here, last remnants of autumn colour. Ash of sycamore. This big leaner here, that's an ash, but I mean, to be fair, if that goes over, it's not going to damage anything. This fella here, this great big thing's an ash. I mean, look at that. What a beautiful trunk that's got. That's beautiful. There's a lot of wood in there. God, you can make any amount of things out of that. Gorgeous. Coming round to sort of the camp area, really, sort of home from home. New things you might have seen. We got given this old shed, which has been used, or is being used at the moment, to store up building materials for the log store being changed into you know, a bit more of a lodge type place, a workers' refuge sort of thing. Temporary lawnmower shed, just keeping the worst of the winter weather, or autumn and winter weather off of the mower. That actually needs a new drive belt on it. I've got the belt, just haven't had a chance to fit it. The roundhouse, ooh, it's very dark, you won't see anything in here, but that's basically, that's now the new log store. It actually works quite well, and we've got one of the mowers tucked in there. There's the old shepherd's hut, all safely locked up. And then here's the old log store, which again, it's too dark to see now, isn't it? But we've got flooring built, but I'm waiting for floorboards to be done. My brother's doing something with the floorboards, so I can't do anything more until I get them back from him. So this is just sort of sitting waiting, really, at the moment. And there's a late night view down the field, or a late afternoon view. Not wanting to focus, there we go. So, quiet times. But, oh yeah, going back to the ash tree thing. So, here behind me is the old log store, which is going to be the new lodge. And just round here is a great big ash, which it does have dieback in it, a small amount at the moment, and so that one will need to be managed. I don't want to like just take it out, because you know, that's not my style, but I will have to manage it, and I'll have to sort of like bring it down as it declines, and just keep it safe, really. Up behind all of the buildings, over the back there, that's another big one. I mean, if that suddenly fell over, it would clobber this. There was a big branch came out of it earlier this year, but it just dropped straight, it snapped off and dropped straight down into the wood, fortunately. There's no real reason why that's suddenly going to blow over this way. If anything, it's more likely to fall the other way, because the wind comes in from sort of this direction and would take it that way, if anything. This ash tree here, again, it's a close one, it's nowhere near as big, but if it came this way, it would damage stuff and flatten things. But that's actually, I think it's still young enough, really, that it's not showing decay at the moment. It's not too bad, so it's just all part of the fun of, you know, looking after some land. So there we go. It's a bit of a walk round of the site, give you a view of what it looks like at this time of year. There's the hole in the ground, which was an exploratory dig to try and work out how low the water table is, and see if I could turn that into a pond. The answer to that is it needs a lot more work, and definitely it's going to want lining. I've always been under the impression that my soil here was very, very much like a heavy clay, but actually I think it's got a very high silt content, which means it doesn't, whilst it acts like clay in lots of ways, it doesn't bind as well. So it can look like you've squidged it all up, but and it's going to hold water, but it doesn't. So yeah, so that's more work needed there. But now this fire, I stopped loading this fire at about 3:30 yesterday. This is a great thing with bonfires. This is still hot, still warm now. I just dropped these twigs on a little while ago when I got down here, but I push that lot down a bit. At some point that will catch. You can see the smoke coming off that. That'll catch. Hopefully, as I say, this should have plenty of heat in it on Tuesday. I'm back down here. It's Sunday now. Hopefully, with a bit of raking out, there'll be enough heat in there to get a fire going very, very easily again. I'm just going to put a little bit more on here now, and then I'll leave that till Tuesday. Excuse me if I'm squinting, and excuse the noise over there. was having their hedges cut. So the other day I did this spiel about asking your opinion on, you know, whether or not we should go for this sort of like buy me a coffee type thing, so that we could get some money towards our hedge that we want to plant up the back along the road. Now, I went home, I spoke to Mary about it, and she sort of said, well, why not, you know. And let's put this, I'll be very clear about this. Whether or not anybody gives us any money, at some point we will be putting a hedge in up there. We wanted an evergreen hedge. Ideally we wanted holly, but unfortunately holly, bizarrely, because it's so prickly, is favoured by muntjac deer. So deer will browse holly, and there are a lot of deer, well, there are a lot of deer everywhere in this country now, but there are a lot in here, and all of the small stuff I put in has to be protected from the deer. So if we were to put in a holly hedge, it's going to get munched off before it even gets a chance to establish, because obviously it's a slow growing hedge, so that's not ideal, and there's no sensible way to guard against that, because obviously you can put like rabbit guards on things, but we'd be talking about buying hedging plants about this tall. You put a rabbit guard in there, well, that's the whole thing covered. The minute it pops out the top, then a deer's going to take it off. If you put in a taller deer protective thing, well, that's fine for trees, but if you're growing a hedge, it's less than ideal. So I did a little bit more research online, and whilst it's not ideal, laurel, that is less attractive to deer. I'm not saying they're not going to nibble it, but they tend not to, apparently. Also, it's cheaper, presumably because it's faster growing, and it will cope with shade, dry shade, so again, that's good. I mean, those were basically our two options in that area. Those were our two options, because it has to tolerate dry shade, and they'll do that. Now, I did price up the hedge. We've got 100, and the bit initially to be done is 129 meters, and putting in one plant every 60 centimeters or 2 feet roughly. That came out at 220 plants. They're £2.12 each. So the total cost of that is £466.40. Now, as I say, Mary and I, we're going to do this anyway, but to chuck out 400 and whatever that was I just said pounds in one go this winter is going to be tricky. So any money that people, subscribers, feel like giving us towards this would be gratefully received. Now, I've set up the page, and basically it gives you options of like 1, 3, 5, you know, or multiples thereof, and that's pounds, British pound. So £3 is going to get, you know, definitely one laurel whip, which would be about that big. So your £3, if you decide to chuck in £3, you would get one of those, and so that's 219 more we would have to buy. I don't expect this to be massively popular, but you know, if you enjoy what we do down here and all of that, then and seeing old Allens, and some of you may have come to stay here, then yeah, consider bugging some money in towards it, because it's only going to enhance the place from a visitor perspective, because the more we can close out that road, the better. And this time of year it's at its worst, obviously, because there's no trees, there's no leaves on the trees now, so it's really, really open. As I say, if you all think, oh my god, I am not giving them money, you know, bloody begging, scrounging git bags, yeah, I totally get it, and that's fine. It's a very, very alien concept to me. Asking for help, I'm not good at asking for help, and certainly asking for money, and I think that's fairly standard for any of us Brits. Yeah, we like to do things all on our own. If I was going to put in a holly hedge up there, just to give you an idea of the cost difference, that was going to come out at sort of 700 quid. Excuse me, my batteries have gone flat in the shepherd's hut. Right, that's another thing needs to the old van batteries in the shepherd's hut are definitely dead, and now it's winter time, we're not getting enough solar. The old wind turbine is doing its bit a little bit, but it just, the batteries can't cope, so the minute you ask them to do anything, they can't cope with it really. So there's also a leisure battery to buy, but this is specifically for hedging. There's always costs, you know, we all have costs in life, and those costs should always be met by all of us. But if somebody wanted to send old Allens a little Christmas gift of a whip, then so be it. That would be marvellous. As I say, I'm waffling because I feel embarrassed about this, but if you want to go, no, bugger off, you're not getting any money from me, that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. But please don't be offended, and do keep watching the channel, because it's free, you know. I'm not at the, I suspect my channel will never get to the viewing threshold for it to be monetized, and therefore to have adverts running on the channel. So it won't ever get income from that area. And to be honest, if I can keep the channel advert free, even if I did hit that threshold, then I might do now. Years ago, before they changed the rules, the channel was briefly monetized, and I think over the 5 years of videos I'd had up to that point, I think I made £90. I had one payment of £90, and that was it. That was over 5 years. 5 years worth of videos, and now my viewing stats are so low down, it will never hit that threshold. So this is a slightly different way of sort of going, well, maybe I'll give, if you want to give me a bit of money, give me a bit of money, but you don't have to watch adverts to, you know, do it. Yeah, waffling, embarrassed, but the link to the thing is in the description. So if you want to buy us a little tiny laurel whip to put in our hedge, sponsor a laurel, then we'd really appreciate that, and that would help a lot. Yeah. Right, enough of that, back to work. about it for today. I'm sure my neighbours over the road are going to be mightily chuffed about that last bit of smoke, which is going straight towards their houses. But that's been a pretty productive day, I reckon. Well, this bit's a couple of hours. So it's coming on well. Lots of raking off to do yet, and also cutting down the stumps, as I said before, cut them down right to ground level so that I can get some grass seed in, and then I can run the mower, you know, over the top of those stumps basically. If I have to, I'll get a digger in to sort of like pull them out a bit, but I prefer not to. But we'll see how that goes. And yeah, and then there's bramble to clear through and stuff like that. So not a bad day. Bonfires are always satisfying, and it's nice to be getting something achieved down here. I'll take you on a mystery tour. I'll show you inside the remains of the hedge though, just quickly. Now, through there, can you spot the wheel? Here you go. So, eventually, and this is when we have a hedge behind all of here, all grown up, I really want to get this out. This is an old, it's a Bamlet sidebar mower. So, there's the old sign, nameplate, Bamlet, made in Thirsk in England, and yeah, it's an old, you know, you probably can't see that through there, but there's the side arm with the teeth on it like that, so that would drop down and this would be towed behind either a tractor or possibly even a horse, but I think more likely a tractor, this one. Yeah, it would cut through your hay. It's a hay cutter effectively. That would have been quite handy to have that running in the field, but it might be worth trying to get that going at some point. And then in here, and this is long dead, is an old plough. So you can just see the plough tip in there. There's one there, and there's another one there. I think it's only two on this. And then there's the disc. I mean, this is all cracked at the bottom. It's been under this hedge for donkey's years. And of course the hedge has just grown through it. And there's the front end of it with all the linkage and the handle for adjusting things and doing all the settings. There's a couple of winding handles. Oh, hang on, further up. So there you go. So just there and there, and obviously you'll be able to turn those from the back of the tractor to sort of get everything set. I've got no idea who made that one, but I mean, if nothing else, one day it'd be nice to get the wheels off it and you know, pop them on something, but get some use out of it maybe. But if I were to cut this, the plough's in there, if I was to cut that, it just opens that road right up, because that is currently that is the last barrier against the road. So again, another reason why it'd be lovely to put this hedge in. And I appreciate depth perception is difficult on a camera, but you can see the cars whizzing past there. So there, I'm probably halfway to the fence from those cars. So if you could get a hedge just in front of that fence, then this stuff could be pushed back further, and we could sort of like look at extracting those tools without opening everything right up to the road, because well, I don't want to open it right up to the road. It's bad enough on this bit, as you can see, sort of through there, and then if I wait there you go, look. So, if you feel like it, sponsor a sapling. Yeah. Bung us some money, sponsor a sapling. Or don't, we'll plant the hedge anyway. But, yeah, if you want to help out, it would be very greatly appreciated. It might even make the quality of the videos a little bit better. You never know, stranger things have happened. Right, take care all. I will leave you with a view of the setting sun.